What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the second part of a story where Issei came back and went against the Gremorys. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Now, let's get into the part 2. 3 months later. Kuoh Academy, 9:30 AM. Issei and his new peerage Mina Summer and Jade were already heading for their classes at Kuoh Academy, the former being the math teacher. She was able to adjust to her new job relatively well. While the latter had a big event, as a result she could not attend school. Additionally, Yuri also joined Kuoh Academy, as John believed she would be safe in the DxD world. The students were as follows: John, Issei, Yuri, Ingvild, Jade and Yang were second-year students, since even with time being passed for this long, they still had a few more months before they become third-year students. Jade was supposed to be the third student since she was older than John, but she and Issei both refused, knowing how much of an annoyance Riaz and Akeno would become. According to Surziches, Riaz and Akeno still held a grudge towards Jade, Ingvild and Ravel for stealing their Issei, and Issei did not want to risk Jade falling into trouble because of them. As for Ravel and Ruby, they were first-year students, with Ruby accompanying her. But they were having problems, as Kaneko often irritated Ravel, while Ruby tried her best to calm down. Once Issei was informed, he stepped in, and Kaneko did not dare to irritate them. He made it clear he did not love her anymore, which made her cry. "Say, are there any way we can get a sneak peek of what will happen to the event?" Yang asked Issei, to which he shook his head and spoke. "Nope, I was asked by her to keep this a secret, Yang, sorry." Yang only sighed in response as Ruby pouted, with her asking, "Why can't you tell us? You already told some other people." "Jade made me promise to keep it a secret. I was requested to not reveal it to anyone. She wants to surprise you guys, and trust me. She promised that it will be good." Issei explained to Ruby. To him, Ruby was almost like a little sister to Issei, and he did not like seeing her sad. But if there is one thing that he learned from John, is that he must never break a promise. "I have even not said to Ravel, John or even Ingvild, only I know about it." Issei explained to Ruby. She could see Ingvild, Ravel and John agreeing with Issei's words, making her nod in understanding. She was saddened that Issei nor Jade were going to reveal the secret. However, pressing her king was going to get her nowhere, and they did promise her it was going to be good. As Yuri asked, "I wonder what device that brainiac of your sister is going to create." John responded with a shrug. "I have no clue. Issei and Jade both have kept it under wraps." John understood why Issei was asked to keep it a secret. It has to be really good if it was kept it secret. Speaking of which, how's Riaz and her peerage now? She has been keeping track of Issei. If anything, she just doesn't get the memo that Issei is no longer interested right now, especially in her peerage. Ingvild spoke with a frustrated tone, as Issei nodded in agreement. "Yep, she has been a headache. Worse, Kaneko has been irritating Ravel when I am in class. It is really hard to keep her in check." Ruby added, to which Issei asked surprised, "Wait, she did not back off?" "Nope, unfortunately no. She did for the first few days after your threatening, but soon she recently started." Ravel nodded in agreement as she spoke. "Yes, Issei-sama, she is really getting on my nerves. I have been ignoring her. Worse, nobody is stopping her due to her being the school's mascot. I should have figured this would happen. I will speak to Sona about changing your classrooms." Issei spoke with a frustrated sigh as the girls nodded in understanding. John was getting annoyed by the Gremory girl annoying his girlfriend. He knew that Issei would do something about it, cause even his girlfriend was getting annoyed. "Anyways, how are those from Remnant?" John and Issei looked at Yuri, who asked for it, and the duo smiled as Issei spoke with a grin. "When word got out of what we did in Beacon and took down Balder and Kranz, the Beacon students believed that I faked the incident. Despite Alex confirming the deaths to be true, being the idiots they were, they compelled the headmaster to bring us in. We both accepted the fact, and we annihilated every last one of those people. We made sure to make an example out of those students, so that no one in Vale thinks of provoking us ever again." John added as Ingvild asked, "Did you kill any of them?" "Nope, but we made sure they never became huntsmen or huntresses ever again. Thanks to researching on aura, Azazel made his own aura sealing device that we used on the students. They will never be able to access their aura or semblances. Additionally, they all hated us for ruining their lives, but they could do nothing but weep at what has happened to them. Not to mention, the headmaster thanked us, since a lot of them had a high chance of being rogues in the future." Issei responded with a shrug as Ingvild nodded. She knew about the bullying and beatdowns he had faced in the future. Yuri then recollected something as she asked, "Did any of the Arcs come to encounter you?" "Oh, they did, Yuri." John spoke with a sigh, as he remembered his sperm and egg donor along with ex-sister Jean, who demanded him to pay for his actions of killing Will's Arc, since with Balder and Kranz, they couldn't punish them due to John and Issei. "Did you kick their asses?" Yang exclaimed with an excited tone, to which John responded, "Yep, Nicholas, Juniper and Jean tried to ambush me, and it did not end well. Issei made quick work of Juniper, shattering her aura before she could use her semblance. She was unable to stop Issei in any way. He made her watch as I personally dealt with Nicholas and Jean. First I broke Nicholas's aura, followed by breaking his leg and stabbing him in the stomach, leaving him for dead. I followed it dealing with Jean, who actually wanted me dead. Hold up. She actually wanted you dead. Yang clenched her fists with her getting angry at how his own sister wanted her dead, as Issei added, yeah, she did want him dead. What king of her sister is she? Yang growled with anger as Ruby calmed her sister down with her speaking, Yang, please calm down. Yang took a deep breath. She remembered her promise to Liu Kang and Kuai Liang to keep her anger in check as she spoke, sorry Ruby. It's alright Yang, I understand why you are angry, even I am. Ruby spoke with a sad smile as Yuri was equally angered by this revelation. As John spoke, in return, I made sure to cripple her permanently. I did not stop until I saw the fear in her eyes. I knew she and the Arcs may be a problem to my parents in the future. So I tormented her and even broke her back. I am not going to lie, seeing the despair in Nicholas and Juniper's eyes was pretty satisfying, along with the fear in them. Issei nodded in agreement as Yuri nodded in understanding. Even the others understood why John did what he had to do. John started to see Goro and Miki Haidu as his own parents, as well as Mary as his older sister. Like Saffron and Jade and like Issei, he did not tolerate anyone that threatened or was a potential threat to them, so he decided to make an example out of them. Additionally, even the Haida saw John as one of their own. So there was no way John was going to let his former clan harm his parents and his new family in any way. So will they be a problem? Ingvild asked with concern as Issei spoke with a smile, well, as long as they don't head towards here, we should be fine. Anyways, how was Jade like working on this event? Issei spoke with a deep sigh as he remembered her often tending to have lack of sleep or even miss classes. She often lost track of time, to say the least. She had lack of sleep and her sleep schedule was messed up. I often made sure she was alright whenever she could, looked after her and took care of her, but even then, she still had some mess ups. That is why I don't want anyone ruining her event, especially not Riaz and her peerage. Issei continued with a worried tone. Even the others seemed to be worried about her well-being, as John responded, they won't. Hopefully I can talk to Roswis and maybe she can stop them. I would advise you do that. Anyway, we should probably get going to school. The others nodded as they soon reached Kuoh Academy, their new academy. Some of the members knew that this was better than Beacon, especially John. Kuoh Academy, 12:30 p.m. Issei was having a bored expression looking outside of the window. Just now Summer was done with her math class, and he was not a fan of math, even in the backrooms, and he hated some of the levels that were designed to annoy the hell out of him, like level 9223372036854775807. Oh man. This is the worst. Issei spoke with an annoyed tone as John looked at him and spoke, there is nothing we can do. You do know angering Summer is not a good idea. John and Issei shuddered at the thought of an angry Summer. Despite being the king, Summer is not someone you want to anger. They all knew this. She was the mother of the group, despite her being the pawn. Soon enough, Ingvild and Yang also joined in, with Ingvild speaking, hey guys. Hey Ingvild. What's up? Ingvild spoke with a sigh, nothing much, just ran away from the kendo duo and my fans that just came in one night, they are annoying me. They think that you don't deserve to be with Ingvild, especially the kendo duo that has been reinforcing this opinion. Yang spoke with a frustrated tone, as Issei gave a sigh. He looked from the corner of his eye, the kendo duo glaring at them. Issei then spoke to his friends, leave this to me, I will make sure to make them not bother you. Issei got up and walked towards the two of them. As soon as Issei reached, Khaos exclaimed with anger, what do you want, Haidu? I want you to stay away from Ingvild, she does not deserve to be with a pervert. Khaos was unable to complete as Issei cuts her off and speaks angrily, who are you to question who I date or who she dates? You have some nerve of interfering in my life and that of my friends. This is your only last warning, if I see the two of you near them. Neither me nor my friends will show you any mercy, is that clear? The girls started to lose their anger and became fearful as Issei spoke with a louder tone, is that clear? The girls rapidly nodded. They heard from Riaz on how he was able to take them down. He was not the same pervert that they knew him to be. They remembered on how they tried to force him to leave the girls, only for them to be taught a lesson as he overwhelmed them in their own domain, which was kendo. However, Issei used Summer's lessons in sword fighting to beat them. He decided to give them a taste of their own medicine by beating them at their game and almost bringing them immense pain. Fortunately, Issei held back, otherwise they would have been dead. Why yes, we won't. Murayama spoke with fear as Issei spoke with a smile, good. Issei was about to walk back before someone else had called him. Issei, what are you doing? Issei looked at the one who called him, it was Roswis, as Issei spoke with a sigh, nothing much, just gave a stern warning to these girls, Roswis. Roswis gave a sigh of her own. She was shocked and horrified by Issei's change in personality. She heard on how her peerage minus Roswis were in a fight against Issei's current team and how they were completely defeated by his hands. Fine. But please restrain yourself. Roswis spoke with a serious tone, making Issei nod as she continued, can we have a conversation? I want to talk about Miss Arc. Issei nodded as he knew that Roswis was not first name basis with anyone from Issei's peerage. He also knew that Irina was still living there, like her luggage is still there, although she often avoids due to dealing with Issei or Mary. She did not know how they would react, especially after what Riaz and her peerage minus Roswis tried to do. Meanwhile, the church trio were watching the scene with sadness as Asia spoke. Issei has changed, hasn't he? Yeah. He had become more ruthless and trigger happy. Zenobia added as Asia spoke, so what should we do then? Let's leave him alone, he clearly is happy with them. And why can't Riaz just leave him alone? Irina spoke with a frustrated sigh as Asia added, from what I know Riaz and Akeno are still trying to get his love and attention. This is not going to end well. No, if anything it is going to become worse. There is no telling what Issei will do to us if we provoke him again. Zenobia spoke with a shudder. Even Kiba and Gasper have been keeping their distance from Riaz, not getting involved in their madness. Back outside the class, Roswis and Issei were having a conversation as Issei asked, so how's the situation going on back at that peerage? Anything but good. Roswis spoke with a deep sigh as she continued, Riaz has been hounding me for how are things at your place and what kind of relationship you have with the 4 girls. Along with Lady Yusaka. Wait, how did she know about Yusaka? Issei asked, surprised, to which Roswis spoke, earlier she had sent her familiar to spy on your house, sure you kicked her out. However, she stated that her familiar was not forbidden from entering your place. She saw her entering your place to visit you and your peerage. I should have seriously dealt with that familiar. I felt an annoying presence back when I was talking with Yusaka and Kunu. Seriously, can't she just stay out of my place? Issei spoke with an annoyed tone as Roswis added with a sigh, she is a headache, Issei. And considering your change, she does not dare to confront you head on. I figured. Roswis looked at Issei and wanted to ask, speaking of the event with Miss Arc, you don't mind if I come? I wouldn't. But someone needs to stop Riaz and her peerage, plus Irina. I don't want them to ruin the event Jade had worked so hard to prepare. Roswis understood what this meant as she nodded. She knew Issei cared for Jade a lot and he did not want to see her saddened. She took a deep breath and spoke, you know she has been trying to see what event the 2 of you are planning, but with me keeping her in check, along with Lord Lucifer, she is unable to do much. If she tries anything, I will definitely make a worse example out of her. Issei growled with anger as Roswis gulped. She was definitely concerned on how things will be playing out. She could only hope Riaz does not try anything stupid. Truth be told, I was never against you coming, plus many from Grigori will also be coming, along with my peerage and my family. So it is going to be something big. But someone needs to keep tabs on Riaz and her peerage plus Irina. Issei spoke with a deep thought as Roswis continued, maybe we can amplify the security and make sure to prevent teleportation circles to the events. That is actually not a bad idea. I will tell Surzich's Nai about this. From what I can say, all the faction leaders will be coming for this function, so with them around. I think the chances of Riaz and co coming are slim, but nevertheless present. Issei spoke his thoughts as Roswis added. But don't forget about the Khaos Brigade, Issei. Ever since you defeated the Redacted Watcher, they have been silent. It's been 10 months since the attack on Kyoto, and with you defeating the Watcher, I doubt they'd be silent for much longer, Issei. Issei widened his eyes. How could he not realize the Khaos Brigade would potentially attack? They have been silent, and that alone should have made him realize that. You're right, I should have realized that. Those fuckers just know how to create trouble, not getting along with other races, and having a damn superiority complex. Worse, according to Kuroka and Arthur, they even plan to betray office. Issei spoke with an annoyed tone. He really hated the Khaos Brigade, as Roswis agreed to Issei's words, as he continued, that is why she has started to stay with us. It was on Azazel Sensei's request, and let's just say with my body being now composed of Great Red's flesh, Office was wary of me. Thankfully Great Red threatened to intervene if Office tried anything, which she did not intend to do. That is correct. Well, you should talk to Lord Lucifer about this. Cao and the Hero faction defeated all of us 10 months ago, and did you not unlock your old armor illegal move Trina, we would have been killed. Not even that was enough for you to take him down, and you along with first generation Sun Wukong, had to intervene, and you could only permanently hurt him by that shot you aimed at his eye. Roswis added, to which Issei could only clench his fists in anger. He remembered on how Cao ragdolled him, he was unable to do anything against him. I understand, and I will work on it. I doubt Cao will be able to take on Nai-san, and even I have become stronger since our last encounter. Regardless, Kuoh was not even at his full power, and I doubt he even tried to fight against me in our last encounter. That is not even mentioning Leonardo and Georg, both possessing Longinus tier sacred gears. I know, but you have Mary, your older sister who herself possesses 2 Longinus sacred gears herself, that being Tilo's Karma and Innovate Clear. We have Ingvild who possesses Nari Kiri, and newly found high tier Longinus, Valerie with the Divine Dividing, and from what our match against Seirg, even he has Regulus Nemia. Hopefully that would be enough. Roswis added her own points to which Issei stated. And 2 from Azazel's/Dog team that also have Longinus. Issei added as Roswis nodded in agreement, they could only hope that it would be enough. I think we should probably head inside for our next class. Roswis spoke as she saw the time at the clock, signaling that their break time is over. Scene change. Time skip brought to you by Rick. Issei visiting this universe and messing with it. Event hall, Lilith, Underworld, 10 p.m. Issei and his friends and family minus Jade all managed to reach the venue on time. They all had worn formal wear or party clothing for the event. The men wore formal clothing with proper shoes, and the women wore sleeveless party wear or neck dress that were designed for a good occasion. So I hope you guys are ready for the big event. Issei asked with happiness, to which Yang responded, hell yeah, I am excited. We all are, Yang, but I would say to keep yourself under check. Summer added, to which Yang nodded in understanding as Valerie asked, so this device that Jade created, what is going to be like? That will be revealed soon enough. Valerie pouted in response as Issei asked, speaking of which, where they are. Are you talking about Team/Dog? Valerie asked, to which he responded, they have already told me that they have reached, they should be around here somewhere. Valerie looked around to locate where they are, as they could see a familiar young man with short black hair and pale gray eyes. He seemed to be looking for someone amongst the audience, as Valerie called out while waving, Tobio. Over here. Tobio turned around to see his Valerie and recognizing her. He smiled in response and walked towards him and spoke, hey guys. You are finally here. Tobio looked at Mickey, Goru and Mary, and greeted them respectfully. And good evening Mr. Haidu, Mrs. Haidu, it is an honor to meet you, the infamous Olmari, Miss Haidu. The 3 mentioned smiled in response, as Goru spoke, no need to be formal with us Tobio-san. We are friends here. Agreed, and a friend of my little brother is a friend of mine. Mary responded with a smile, as Tobio nodded. Issei then asked, say where are the others? They have already taken their seats. We have been waiting for you. Tobio responded with a smile of his own, as he spoke, now that only leaves Seirg and his family, Yasaka and Kunu, and finally Riser and his family. Yep, it's been a while since I have met them. I wonder what they are doing. Ravel added her own words, they were also invited to this function, as Tobio added, Yasaka and Kunu are already inside, they are talking with the leaders that have also arrived. Let's head there. Alright, and I do want to talk to Surzich's Nai about some important stuff. Issei spoke as the others understood what was happening. He knew that he had to make sure the event is all in top form, as he needed to protect the guests, especially his parents. Let's head inside, I am excited to see what Jade has planned for us. Ruby exclaimed with happiness as they all headed inside, with Ingvild speaking, I wonder where those girls are. From what Issei told me, Surzich's and Roswis have already managed to stop them from even coming here, although he did not tell me what they did. John spoke with a shrug as they all headed towards the inner halls of the ceremony. Scene change. Inside the event halls, 10:20 p.m. Issei was talking to Surzich's, as he spoke to the former Gremorys heir, he understood what the security needed for this event. The reason was that Jade was designing something that if falls into the wrong hands would bring about chaos. The only ones that do know much about it are Ajuka, Beelzebub and Azazel, who is guiding here through this project. I understand. I had a feeling that there is a chance the terrorist attack may happen at this place. It is not the first time it has happened. Surzich spoke in an understanding tone as he added, ever since you have come from the backrooms, you have changed a lot, Issei. I guess. A heavy humiliation from the Gremorys peerage, coupled with literally protecting the lives of yourself and your friends and families from every danger, and a god-level being that wanted me dead can do wonders. Issei spoke with a shrug as Surzich only chuckled at this, as he spoke, it is true I guess. Although, I wanted to know. Where are your other friends? They are back in their own worlds, doing their business, and clearing with the issues in their worlds. Surzich nodded as he spoke, well for starters the teleportation inside the event halls have been disabled. Only a very strong spell of teleportation can perform that level of teleportation. Additionally, this was the only spell we could come up with on a short notice. After you told us about any possible threats. I understand, it is not your fault, if anything, with you and Lord Beelzebub around, we should be fine. Surziches nodded in understanding, and if you are wondering where Riaz and her girls minus Roswas are, they won't be coming, since mother put a sleeping spell and put a seal in their rooms till the event ends. So they are not going to be bothering you or your event, Surziches spoke with a smile, as Issei nodded and thanked his older brother figure, as Surziches then spoke with a sigh, although, there is someone that wanted to talk to you. I never thought he would wish to contact you, he wanted to tell you about something. Who is that, Surziches? Nai-san. Surziches took a breather as a teleportation circle opened up, revealing it to be dark blue color. It had a Sanskrit letter 0A and M0. Surziches had a look of concern, knowing who exactly it is. He is here. The person that revealed himself was a tall, muscular man shown to have 4 arms and 5 golden eyes, with only 3 of them open when he's calm. He has indigo skin and black hair. He wears a golden bandana and baggy golden trousers equipped with a blue sash. Also, he has blue tattoos on his wrists and fingers. Hello, hi to Issei, it is finally nice to meet you. My name is Shiva, one of the 3 pillar gods. I feel that we will be meeting more frequently due to something I foresaw, so I wanted to give you my greetings. The being spoke respectfully, as Issei shuddered by the presence he was emitting. Drake then warned him. Partner, whatever you do not provoke him in any way. He is the Hindu god Shiva, one of the Trimurti and the god of destruction. He is far stronger than even me at my prime. Drake mentally spoke, to which Bell responded with fear. Be careful, Issei. You need not fear me, young man, I am just here to talk. Issei looked at Surziches with fear. As he nodded, he knew that Surziches would not let Shiva meet him unless it was not important. Oh, okay. Please speak, Lord Shiva. Issei spoke with fear and concern, as Shiva took a deep sigh and spoke with a smile. I know your intentions. Shiva approached Issei, as Issei closed his eyes in fear. He was not sure if his semblance would help him in any way, even if he had to use that form, maybe he could stand a chance. Relax, young man, you have nothing to fear me. If anything, I respect you for stopping that madman Azrael. To defy and stop a god to protect your friends and loved ones, you are a noble and kind man that would do anything for his family. I respect and if anything have high hopes for you and your team to achieve great things. Shiva kept his hand on Issei, speaking with a smile. As the latter slowly opened his eyes, Issei knew that Shiva was not intending to harm him or his allies in any way. Thank you, Lord Shiva. Shiva soon kept his hand down as he spoke with a more concerned tone. Before I tell you about what I foresaw, know this, I am not against you and your team's achievements. Issei nodded as Shiva continued. He put his hands backwards as he spoke. This vision I saw recently, almost few hours ago. I normally would never step in, but what I saw made me concerned for the future of not only the supernatural world, but also the whole universe. What is it, Lord Shiva? Issei asked with concern. Even Surziches had a look of worry as Shiva spoke. Young man, what your friend Jade, teacher Azazel and Satan Ajuka are doing, they are opening what I can best describe as Pandora's box, threading into the unknown realms of the universe, and beyond that is something I would warn against. I saw a vision, young man, a vision where several beings that far eclipsed that of even Great Red were being shown, along with their allies and friends. They all had gathered for one final fight against an unknown threat. I was unable to see their faces in any way. But I am here to warn you, young man, from here on out, your life will be difficult after today. But if you are able to pass the trials that has been set for you, you and your friends will achieve something far greater. Shiva spoke with a concerned yet serious tone, however he ended with a smile. Issei took his words very seriously as he nodded. I understand. I will look after Jade and make sure she remains alright. Along with my other friends. Shiva nodded in understanding as he spoke. Very well then, I shall take my leave. Are you not going to stay here for the event? Shiva shook his head and responded, as much as I would love to, I am needed elsewhere. We will meet again, Issei, that is something I can assure. Shiva teleported away from the scene, leaving Surziches to take a deep breath as he asked, are you alright, Ice? Yeah, I am. I will probably clean up and settle down at the seat. I will tell Jade once the events end, I don't want to ruin it for her. Surziches nodded in understanding as he was trying to decipher who were the beings stronger than Great Red that Shiva mentioned and what exactly is going to happen next. However, he decided to keep those thoughts for another time. Scene change. The audience had settled in their seats, the Gremorys family minus Riaz and her peerage were all excited. There was a curtain that had covered something. Issei soon settled next to Ingvild and John, as Ingvild asked, why did you take so much long? I had some business, once the event is done, I will let you know on what happened. Soon once this is done. Ingvild nodded as she knew things were going to be interesting. Someone then called out to him, Icon. Issei turned around to see Lavinia Renai, who called out to him. She was a beautiful, buxom young woman with long flowing blonde hair and sapphire blue eyes. Oh hey Lavinia. It's been a while. Lavinia gave a smile of her own, as someone else had called out to him, "You are not going to meet me, Issei." The person that had called him was Kaki Samajima, who was a handsome man with the appearance of a delinquent and with a white cat sitting atop his shoulder. "Well Kaki, how are you doing?" Kaki responded with a cheeky grin of his own. "I am fine, Haidu, are you excited for your bishop's achievements?" I couldn't be any more proud of her Kaki. Kaki gave a smile in response, the two often talked about their stuff in the teams. "So are you not going to greet Suzaku and say?" Issei looked at the two. Suzaku Himejima looked similar to Akeno, a beautiful, young buxom woman who has long flowing black hair, however she had red eyes like her aunt Shuri Himejima. While Issei was described to be a young girl that had brown hair and green eyes. Issei greeted them as well, along with Natsume, who was a beautiful young woman with light brown hair that is normally tied up. She has a slim and voluptuous figure. And finally Shigyun, who was a beautiful biracial young woman of a Japanese and European descent, making her Eurasian. She has long blonde hair that is tied using ribbons and tied in a braid looking a lot like a crown. Her eyes are heterochromic with a blue right eye and a black left eye. Once the event started, Shigyun spoke to her friends. "Guys, everyone. The event is beginning. We can chat later." Everyone looked excited at the screen as Jade soon walked up to the scene. She did not have her usual appearance. She had her hair well made, with a rose attached to her head along with a crown. She wore a blue and white dress skirt, which was well embroidered, along with a flowing pattern on her skirt. She wore heels, which were blue in color. She also wore a hand coverings that were till her wrists. Jade took to the stage and spoke while taking the microphone. "Good evening everyone, I am glad you all could make it for the big event. I am so happy that you all are here for the big presentation." Jade exclaimed with happiness as many clapped for her, with her speaking, "Before we begin, there are some people I would like to. That is my king and someone that supported me throughout this project, Issei Haidu." Everyone looked at him and clapped for him as Jade motioned him to come to the stage. Both John and Ingvild told him to head to the stage as he walked towards him, as he jumped to the top of the stage, with Jade asking, "You have some words to say, Issei?" "Well, I am not going to say much, but I can say that I am proud of what you have developed. Your creation has not only bridged the gap between dimensions and worlds, but you have discovered something else beyond this world. If there is anyone that needs to enjoy this event, it is you, Jade." Issei announced as Jade gave a genuine smile, with him speaking while raising his finger, "Although, there is someone that would also wish to talk to you. Our folks from the Backrooms also have some words to say you. This is a recorded message, before I begin." Issei brought out his boosted gear 2.0, and a projection was being played. Those that were present and journeyed in the Backrooms recognized the person who was speaking. It was Sonya Blade, their old friend, companion and mentor. "Hello Jade. Although we can't talk, this is a message. Issei told me about this project you are making and words can't describe how proud I am. You always exceeded my expectations. When you developed for MEG, the others also were proud of what you were doing, especially your mentor Heinz Bernadette. I would have loved to talk to you and the others, and my thoughts are shared across everyone from MEG as well. They all wish you the best of luck for your future endeavors. And once proper technology is ready, we will one day come and visit you, and that includes all of you as well." Jade smiled in response as she mused, "I will be waiting." The projection fell off and Issei spoke, "Well, I think we should begin." Jade nodded as she spoke, taking the microphone. "Indeed, and there is someone else I want to thank. It is my mentors Ajuka Beelzebub and Azazel Sensei." Jade looked at the audience as she noticed the two men handling the technicalities of the project, who both gave a smile on their own, giving her the signal to begin with the project. Without further ado, let us begin. Jade looked at the two and nodded. Azazel pressed a button as the curtains went off, revealing a portal-like device. It seemed to be in a circular shape that had a hollow hole inside of it. Everyone clapped when they could see this as Jade spoke. "This is the Super Collider. When I and Issei were on a walk 2 months ago, we encountered a futuristic device that did not belong to this world, or the world where I come from. The world of Remnant. Using that device as a base, I was able to develop a device that would connect to the two worlds." Jade explained as Issei sat back at a chair that he had brought out using his pocket as she continued. "The Super Collider is a particle accelerator to bridge the gap between dimensions and worlds. To put it simply, it can allow us to possibly travel to different worlds and dimensions far beyond this world or universe. The main idea of this project is to pull people or things from other worlds into our world, and we are going to do just that." Jade activated a switch on her scroll which was in the form of an icon. The machine starts to light up. She has the control of the collider, but the master control is with Ajuka, so as to prevent any malfunction in an event it does happen. Everyone was excited to see what the collider had in store for them. They are eager to know how this machine will work. Jade then continued to speak. "Our first test would be to bring an object from whatever world we can find, and to see if the machine allowed said object to come without a side effect. Now you must be wondering what side effects have happened. You see, during the initial stages of the object's introduction to this world, the atoms and molecules of that object didn't match. This caused a glitching effect to take place when they landed on the floor. Worst case scenarios, there have been outright explosions that have taken place due to this. The audience seemed to be concerned about this, as Jade announced in an assuring tone, but worry not, with the right funding and support, I was able to reduce this from happening with enough trial and error. I can only hope that it does not take place. The audience were captivated to see the machine working as suddenly something burst out of the collider and landed in the middle of the stage. Jade went up to it and began scanning the object of interest to see if the side effects will take effect, and to her surprise it did not. Issei went towards it and noticed that it felt different, like it was something that did not belong to this world. It seemed to be sort of a device, that it looked similar to the hilt of a sword. Jade, herself, was unable to see what kind of device it was. She was unable to figure out how to operate it, and did not want to risk anything by activating the device in any way, due to her not knowing what it was. She gave the device to Issei and announced while once again adjusting the ear microphone, so as you can see, the collider was able to bring an object that did not exist in our world. Now you must be wondering, how does an object like this come from another world? Well, by the way this is designed, says it all. There is no such device I have seen in my life before. The audience clapped and cheered for this, as Issei kept the device on a table, with Jade soon speaking, alright, it's time for another run. Jade once again taps the icon as suddenly a pair of futuristic metal wings come out from the screen. The leaders and other beings could sense the power coming from it. Before Jade could touch them, Azazel asked, Jade, can you please let us examine them? Jade nodded, as Azazel headed up to the stage and tried to examine them. He noticed that this is a sacred gear, which he has never seen before. Miss Jade, this thing is an unknown sacred gear that does not exist in my research. Jade looked surprised by this. As she touched the device, she could feel the power coming from her. Thankfully, it is safe. Azazel gave the sacred gear to Jade. As she kept it below, she could sense the power coming from it. He gave a look towards the four great seraphs who understood what it is. This was something that they had to identify. Regardless, Jade, I have to say, I am impressed and amazed by the machine you developed or primarily developed properly. To be able to send people and objects to our world or even travel to said world, this is really amazing. Surziches spoke with a cheerful tone as Auden added. I never would have known other worlds existed if it was not for this device. Truly incredible. Jade gave a genuine smile as she spoke, thank you Lord Surziches and Lord Auden. Maybe with this, we can finally interact and talk with other worlds, and find a way to deal with the Khaos Brigade. Gabriel added her own words, however just as she mentioned the Khaos Brigade, the whole auditorium was taken into a different dimension. Many of the audience were caught off guard, however they knew which sacred gear is responsible for this. This is Dimension Lost. Azazel spoke as Issei immediately knew who is responsible for this, as the mist appeared and revealed two people that Issei and those from the Kyoto trip recognized. They were the hero faction. The first was described to be a handsome young man with short black hair and blue eyes. He wears a combination of a Japanese school uniform and ancient Chinese Hanfu attire. He also lost his right eye while escaping from the Kyoto incident, but later gained one of Medusa's eyes, restoring his sight. The second was described to be a young man with black hair and spectacles. Like Cao, he wears a combination of a Japanese school uniform and wears a mage-style robe over his uniform with a feathered cape. Cao. Georg. Issei spoke with a surprised tone, recognizing the two from Kyoto. He could see Asaka holding her daughter and glaring at the two. All the leaders were on guard as well. While Auden was dealing with the barrier so that he could destroy the dimension created by Georg, along with Grafia who was trying to figure out any breaches. Issei's team was also ready for combat along with the other guests. Summer and rwby stayed by Mickey and Goru's side to protect them. Cao. The same person you had fought in Kyoto? Issei nodded. Cao had a condescending smirk as he spoke with a grin, it's been a while Sekiruite. And it seems like you have found new guests. Why are you here Cao? Azazel spoke angrily, as Cao only chuckled and responded, we were here for office initially, so that we could take away her power. But we have decided on performing something else. We will be taking the collider with us as well. The power to enter different worlds, that is something the Khaos Brigade would love to experiment on, the power that will make humanity more powerful than ever. Office glared at Cao with anger, as everyone knew a brawl is about to break out. Issei immediately got on the defensive to protect Jade as he asked angrily, and what makes you think that we will let you take the collider? You can't take us all down, Cao. I can, I will, and there is nothing you can do about it. Cao looked at Georg who only summoned more mist from his dimension lost, as he tried to take it from them. However, Jade completely used her semblance to forcefully shut down the collider, as she disabled the machine, making it not operable for the time being. As she spoke, you will never get them. Georg and Khaos clicked their tongue in frustration as Georg spoke angrily. We will find a way, the building must have some information about the collider. We will just have to find it. Like I'll let you do anything. Issei activated his balance breaker, with John and the rest of his team minus Summer and Ruby joining the fight. However, Khaos was not deterred, as suddenly the whole area was surrounded with mist, with Yang commenting, "What the hell is going on? He is bringing in more reinforcements." Azazel spoke with his guard up as suddenly they were ambushed by the rest of the hero faction members, which included Jean, who took on John, as he activated his Ventus armor to block the attack. Yang was forced to take on Hercules, and finally several people of the hero faction were fighting against Ingvald and Ravel. There were also several Grim Reapers that had ambushed this place, making the leaders realize that Hades is also involved with this. Azazel and Serziches gritted their teeth in anger as another being showed up. It was described to be a large ominous creature with bizarre features, such as the upper body of a fallen angel, albeit with fangs in his mouth, and the lower body of an Asian dragon. He was crucified on a large cross with nails driven into various parts of his body, arms, tail, wings, etc., as well as several other restraints that had ancient letters written on them. His eyes were also covered with a blindfold that had tears of blood dripping from underneath it. The angels were pale seeing this included the fallen angels as well, as they recognized the being to be Samuel. Issei and Valerie felt a great repulse and restlessness to get out of the locations. Their instincts were telling them to flee. What the fuck is that being? Issei spoke while sensing many emotions from that being such as pain, jealousy, suffering, and resentment from Samuel. Partner, you need to get out of here as soon as possible. If that being's blood gets in your system, you will die a horrible death. Drake warned Issei, knowing full well on what Samuel is capable of, as Albion added, you too Valerie, and how in the hell did they get Samuel? You can thank Hades Zama for lending us to him. With him, we can fight against two of the Longinus's users. Khaos spoke with a cackle, as the ones that cared for Issei and Valerie were fearful of what is going to happen. That skeleton bastard. Azazel growled as Serziches decided to join the fight. There was no way he was going to let a device so powerful get in the hands of the Khaos Brigade, and he could care less about the politics at this point, but before going he spoke. Auden Dono, try to get the civilians out of here. Auden nodded in understanding as he commanded Summer and Ruby, protect Mr. and Mrs. Haidu from the Grim Reapers. Hades has a lot to explain too. Leave it to us, Lord Lucifer. Summer spoke with an assuring tone as Team Slashdog, Sayerg, Riser and their peerages all got ready to fight. This included even the other supernatural beings that were fighting against the Grim Reaper army. Meanwhile, John was holding off against Jean, as the woman was surprisingly good at dueling, while Yang was forced to deal with Heracles, who was able to hold his own against Yang while their fight was going on. Khaos decided to activate his balance breaker while commanding. Balance breaker. Polar Night Longinus Chakravart and several orbs started to form around Khaos as they all looked the same, while he commanded Georg, go and find the data that belongs to the collider, I will handle the office part. Georg nodded as he rushed out of the battlefield, with Jade speaking, we need to stop him from getting the collider blueprints, some of the information is present in the building itself, if the Khaos Brigade gets it then. Understood, leave that to me. Issei entered into his balance breaker, as Khaos tried to intervene exclaiming, I won't let you. Khaos used one of his orbs to fire energy blast at Issei, which was blocked by Serziches, as he spoke, go Issei, I will handle things here. Khaos gritted his teeth in anger, as in his last-ditch effort, he tried to use his Medusa's eye to immobilize Issei, only for Serziches to fire bullets of power of destruction, to make him lose his concentration. Issei took this opportunity to stop Georg, as he rushed out with Khaos, gritting his teeth in fury. Your fight is with me, Khaos. Khaos was even more livid, he had no choice but to use that if he had to even damage the monster known as Serziches Lucifer, who turned to Issei's peerage and spoke with a smirk, you guys don't mind me leading you? Of course not. John spoke as he pushed Jean off with a kick, as the other peerage members nodded in agreement, with Serziches speaking with a grin, then let's stop them. Scene change. Issei was dashing towards the upper levels of the auditorium, as he saw Georg trying his best to counter Ajuka, as Issei spoke, Lord Beelzebub. Issei? The others. Issei looked at him and spoke, they are dealing with Khaos, Serziches is personally dealing with the situation up there. Georg gritted his teeth in anger, he knew the chances of him facing off against Issei and Ajuka, both at the same time will be disastrous, as Georg generated several magic circles. He constantly fired at them with Ajuka using his signature ability which allowed him to control any magical attack, as long as he was able to control it. It was a specialized magic circle. Ajuka used a magic to redirect it at Georg, who looked in horror, he blocked it with a defensive magic circle, only for Issei to ambush from the left side, as he gave a punch aimed at the gut, making him cough up. In response, Georg fired a Dragon Slayer magic at Issei, which was easily blocked by Ajuka as he redirected the magic blast towards Georg as he looked at Issei angrily before Issei gives him a smack at the head, knocking him out cold. That should do it. Issei looked at Ajuka and asked, but even then, how were you able to redirect the attacks back at him? Ajuka explained with a smile, the ability I used was Kankara formula. To best explain it, all the phenomena and abilities in the world have both rules and laws to them, which he was able to get an answer to by filling in the equations. In the past, he said that earlier on his life, he had an interest in calculations as a child, and so his demonic powers became specialized in those areas. It allowed him to take complete control over the demonic powers of devils from the old Satan faction, redirected, and defeated them. During the Devil Civil War. I have heard of that incident. That was how you managed to win against the satanic descendants 500 years back, right? Ajuka nodded as he spoke. Indeed, as long as I am able to my demonic powers to fill in the calculations of the natural phenomena. By using a specialized magic circle, I am capable of affecting the outside world in various ways. As long as I am able to understand the magic, I can use calculations to control the magic and redirect it back at my enemies. I have been researching magic spells of other races and trying to find loopholes where I can apply my equations and formulas. I see. Issei spoke in understanding as Ajuka spoke. We need to delete all the data that Jade has stored here about the Super Collider. Wait, but this is something Jade worked so hard for, we aren't going to delete it or anything. Issei spoke with an annoyed tone as Jade contacted Issei as he picked it up as he spoke. Yes. Did you get to the Collider data? Issei responded with a serious tone, yes, both me and Satan Beelzebub are present. Issei, listen, delete that data, we don't want the Khaos Brigade or anyone getting access to the Collider in any way. Only you and I have access to delete function of the internal data I have stored, and I want you to destroy any access they can possibly have. Ajuka looked at Issei with a told you so look as he asked, are you sure, you worked so hard for it? I don't to ruin anything you worked so hard. Oh Issei, did you really think I would not have precautions prepared? You should have faith in me. The backup data is safe in a location only I know of, so you needn't worry. Issei looked at her and spoke, very well, I shall do that. Issei took one final look at Georg who was passed out, he sighed in relief, as it was a good thing that only Jade knew about the place. Issei cuts off the scroll connection saying, let's head inside. Ajuka nodded as the two entered into the console that was connected to it. Ajuka navigated through the console heading towards the Collider data. It took him a few minutes to do so. He then clicked on delete data as a pop-up of, are you sure? Shut up, as Ajuka tapped on the yes section. The password showed up as Ajuka spoke. I would have already deleted the data if it was not for the password section, and I was about to hack when he showed up. I will type the password and delete the data. Issei was the only Jade trusted the most with the project, and he followed up by typing the password, REDDRAGON0804. Issei followed up with the enter button as the data started to get deleted. I never thought the password would be this easy. Ajuka mused, to which Issei responded, yeah, it was something she could remember with. Anyways, the others are still fighting, we should probably get going. Issei looked at Georg but he was gone. He looked in surprise as he exclaimed, how did he? Now is not the time, we need to head there fast. Ajuka spoke seriously as Issei nodded. They both rushed outside to stop Georg at all costs. Scene change. 15 minutes earlier. Georg managed to reach Kao's side, who was struggling against the combined forces of Surzich's and Issei's peerage, Ingvald, who had already defeated her 3 opponents. As Kao spoke, did you get the data? No, Ajuka and Issei deleted the data, we can't gain access to the data, as of now. Kao gritted his teeth in anger. Once again he has failed to gain his objectives. He could neither get access to office due to Team/Dog and the Seraphs preventing him, nor he could gain any information on the Super Collider. Everyone. We have to retreat. This mission has failed. Kao called out to his teammates who all rushed to Kao's side, as Georg was using the mist to get everyone out of there. Surzich's tried to intervene, but Kao used one of his orbs to fire at the Collider, causing it to malfunction, which caused a distraction. Using it, he already escaped. Damn it, Surzich's gritted his teeth in anger, he was unable to capture Kao. He already had his hands full protecting Issei's team from Samuel, while dealing with the Grim Reapers and Kao at the same time. Additionally, he had no intention of killing him, he wanted to bring him in, for questioning, as well as he was being a Longinus wielder. He wanted to know who is the one behind the attack, since he was aware of Office being with Issei and company. Auden and Grafia managed to get most of the information on Dimension Lost, so the next time they attack, they will be ready to counter them. The Collider was on the starting to become even more unstable, and the dimension returned to normal. Issei and Ajuka managed to come, with Surzich's speaking, what is going on? Jade and Ajuka took one look at the super collider and became pale as Jade exclaimed, "We need to get out of here." Everyone immediately teleported out of the theater using teleportation circles created by the leaders and strong magic users amongst the group. They were also able to get the stuff that the collider summoned. Once they were outside, they looked at the theater. There was a massive explosion that took place, with Surziches and the leaders applying barriers to prevent. Is everyone alright? Everyone gave a nod as Issei looked at the audience. Everyone had made it out alive. His own family, his peerage, the Gremorys family minus Riaz and her peerage, Roswis, the faction leaders, the 4 great Satans, the Phoenix family, Saerg Baal and his mother. Rizer's peerage, Saerg's peerage, Azazel, Shemhazai, Team/Dog, Valerie Lucifer, the 4 great Seraphs, Yuri Winterflake and Kunu. At least we all made it in one piece. Never thought the Khaos Brigade would manage to know about Remnant and other worlds. Azazel spoke with a sigh, knowing what would happen next, as everyone pondered on how things will be taking place next. Scene change. Unknown location, 12:30 AM. The man was smirking seeing what was happening. He has the appearance of a middle-aged man in his 40s with dark silver hair and hazel eyes. He looked like Valerie, albeit with shorter hair and a beard. He possessed a bottomless and creepy aura around his body. He wore the same Mau Lucifer attire as Surziches, although colored in silver. He was surprised by what he witnessed, and it intrigued him from the spy magic circles he had installed. The world of Remnant, different worlds, just imagine the amount of despair and chaos he could bring about in those worlds. Forget bringing chaos in one world, he now wants to bring it across different worlds. Now how he was able to get spy magic circles into the event hall. That answer will be revealed soon enough. Euclid, come here. The man called for one of his allies, as soon enough a man teleported into his room. He was a young handsome looking man appearing in his early 20s with silver hair that is tied in a braided hairstyle. He wears a silver robe. He was the reason on how he was able to infiltrate the event and apply spy circles, so that he could hear and come to know everything. Is something the matter, Lord Rizevim? Rizevim spoke with a gleeful smile. Take Shalba with you and capture that boy Leonardo. Make sure to bring an army with you. Capture this Jade Arc and bring her to me. Her plans of the collider and her intelligence will be valuable to us. As you wish, Lord Rizevim. Rizevim then nods as he continued, and if her king gets in the way, then you know what you need to do, right? Euclid nodded as he soon teleported out of there, with Rizevim gleefully smiling, as he knew that if he captures Jade, then he will succeed in his plans. He may even be able to release Trahexa quicker than before. Unbeknownst to either of them, several beings have got up from their very painful fall or crash. They all looked around as they realized they are not where they supposed to be. As they all said one thing. Where am I? Issei looked at his friends and family and asked. Is everyone okay? Surziches looked around as he spoke. Well, no one's harmed, so that's a good thing. But I have a feeling that it is far from over. The Khaos Brigade knows about the collider, and they would want anything in their power to obtain it. Auden spoke with a worried tone, as Jade spoke with a tone of assurance. Don't worry, Lord Auden, the data is with me, and only I and Issei know about this. Ajuka nodded in agreement as he spoke. The less people know about this, the better. Many nodded in agreement as Mary speaks. I will take Mom and Dad home. It would be wise that they don't get involved in case an attack does happen. Goru and Mickey weren't happy with this, as they protested. No, Mary, we aren't going to leave our son here. Goru angrily responded as Mickey nodded in agreement as Mary spoke with a tone of assurance. We don't need to worry about Issei. He has got his team and the leaders to back him up. He will come back fine. Mary's words did not sit well with his parents, as Surziches walked up to them and spoke with a tone of understanding. I understand your concern, but know this, I will make sure he and his team survives, plus they have each other's back, don't they? John walked ahead and spoke. You can count on us, Mom, nothing will happen to Issei while we are around. Issei's peerage nodded in agreement as Mickey sighed in relief as she spoke. Take care, all of you. Mary and the rest of the hiatus teleported away leaving Issei alone as he muttered, at least they are alright. So what now? Azazel spoke with a sigh as he continued, this project was worked for months and it exploded with the Khaos Brigade wanting to create something similar. This is bad. With terrorists knowing about this weapon, sooner or later they will attack the underworld again. So what do we do now? Jade asked Issei and the 4 Satans as Surziches was about to make a decision when suddenly Grafia got a message gaining everyone's attention. What? I will let him know. Grafia closed off the communication as Surziches asked with concern. What's the matter, Grafia? Grafia shook her head and spoke, no it is not, thousands of devils, fallen angels and other supernatural beings have attacked the Agar's territory, this includes magicians along with vampires. Grafia spoke with worried tone, with the leaders becoming surprised by this, the vampires have not been involved at all, and now they are attacking them. Surely the Khaos Brigade has been actively recruiting other races to join them, however before they could even do anything, magic circles opened up. Soon enough, a whole horde of devils and other supernatural beings also come to this location. Grafia becomes wide-eyed into seeing who was in front of her. It was none other than her younger brother Euclid, with even Surziches was surprised at who they were facing. Meanwhile, Issei was also being surprised, looking at a handsome man dressed in black armor with a cape. He had long brown hair that goes to his hips with many bangs covering his right eye. Shalba. Issei muttered with surprise, as those that knew who he was were genuinely surprised, as John asked. Shalba. But didn't you kill him when you went berserk on that nun's presumed death? Issei nodded as the Euclid soon walked forward and spoke. Greetings, people of the factions and those from the world of Remnant. I am Euclid Lucifuge. It is finally nice to meet all of you, including the one that slayed the redacted watcher. Euclid spoke looking at Issei as he glared at Euclid, wondering what he wanted. Euclid then continued. If you are thinking, yes, Grafia is nothing but my treacherous older sister. Euclid declared as several looked at Grafia, who was silent. Surziches gave them a look that he will explain later, as he turned to Euclid and spoke. What do you want, Euclid? Euclid pointed towards Jade as she became wide-eyed, with Issei and John becoming defensive, along with the rest of his peerage. Her. That is who I want. She will be vital to Rizevim's plans of recreating the Super Collider. Once we see her memories, we will know everything. Jade angrily retorted as she spoke. And what makes you think I will want to work with you? Euclid wags his finger and responds arrogantly, you don't have a choice, girl. Everyone attack. The supernatural beings affiliated with the Khaos Brigade start to unleash a heavy magic blast as the leaders create a barrier to protect those present in the party. Grafia was still trying to process, her younger brother had turned to being a terrorist. Surziches took a glance at his wife before clenching his fists, however he took a deep breath to calm himself down as he speaks, turning to the others. This is bad, we will need to split up our forces. Who can volunteer to head to the Aegir's territory? Seraphol, Falbium, Auden, the Bale Peerage, Valerie, Gabriel and Metatron and the Phoenix Peerage all agreed to head there as they immediately teleported to that location. Now, the rest of us, we fight against Euclid and his forces. Surziches looked at Grafia, who nodded in understanding. They cannot let Jade fall into the Khaos Brigade's hands since she is the weakest link to the Super Collider. Opening start. The boosted gear 2.0 is shown, it was glowing. With the wielder pulling it back, revealing it to be Issei. Issei's team is standing beside him as they smile at the screen. Rex, Yang, Ruby, Jade, Ingvald, Issei, John, Ravel, Summer, and Music Man. The scene shifts to the Khaos Brigade armies with a dark silver-haired man laughing at the situation before he looks surprised at an explosion that takes place. Issei and Valerie were the ones attacking the army in their balance breaker armors as the other girls try to clash for his affection. John and several members watch in amusement. The scene changes to several Red Dragon Emperors fighting against even more armies of the Khaos Brigade with Issei's current team. They fight against a silver-haired man and purple-haired girl. The scene changes to Jade showing the project to many of the guests involved. She has a smile on her face. Everyone sees her with a happy face, excited for the project. The scene changes to Issei looks at a spear-wielding man who has a cocky grin. He grits his teeth at what he has done as several of his allies surround him. Issei's own team is ready to fight him along with his friends from Grigori. Issei is fighting against the spearman. As he pushes him back, he enters into his semblance while the spearman activates his balance breaker. The spearman is joined by a silver-haired man, however Issei is joined by Surziches who double-team against them. Issei is seen dashing with others along with his friends as they face off against the Khaos Brigade armies. They slaughter everyone that tries to harm them and their loved ones. Issei fights off against some of his old foes as an Issei enters into his new armor, more powerful than before. He faces off against a faction of humans who want to eliminate him. Issei is seen able to gracefully fend off against his attackers with ease, while the brown-haired man watches with a smile. Issei is looking down on some of his foes as several of similar-looking people smile at him with happiness as they all watch him defeat his foes, watching him grow and develop. Opening end. Euclid kept unleashing his assault. Capturing Jade will be much harder, however he knew what he had to do. He looked at Shalba and gave a nod. He had to inflict a fatal blow to the pillar of the factions. When the assault stopped, Surziches spoke seriously and coldly. Surrender, Euclid, Shalba, there is no way you can win against all of us. Euclid shook his head and spoke, I know, false Lucifer. I know. And nice of you to turn against your grandfather, Valerie. Valerie glared at him and spoke to him angrily, there is no way I will join any of you ever again. I know. Commence attack again. Euclid commanded as he attacked those that were in the factions. The soldiers were beginning to attack again as Issei spoke. We have no choice, we need to take him and Shalba down, along with the rest of the Khaos Brigade. Issei spoke, to which Surziches responds. Yes, and Jade, stick close to me and Grafia, alright. Jade nodded in understanding. As she stayed closer, the others were ready to fight against the Khaos Brigade. Even Yuri and those from Remnant decided to join the fight. Yang and Ruby headed toward some of the magicians. Thanks to their strengthened bodies, with the help of the evil pieces, they gained additional power and strength, enough to rival low to middle class beings, sending several of the beings flying. Yang and Ruby were eliminating any of the Khaos Brigade beings they encountered. Several beings aimed their magic at them, however they were dodging around using their wings. They were trained by Issei to do so, and on how to fly. Summer joined in taking down the higher class beings while exclaiming, "Promotion." Queen Summer looked at her king and her student as Issei nodded, giving the permission to promote, as her abilities increased, allowing her to move faster, have more durability, and even allowing her to use her magic even better. Her maiden powers were enhanced due to the promotion as well. John, Ingvald, Ravel and the others excluding Surziches and Grafia joined in, as they all decided to fight against the enemies of the Khaos Brigade. Euclid decided to stand back, observing what Issei is capable of, as he was overconfident in dealing with Issei and capturing Jade. Speaking of Issei, he was facing off against Shalba at a short distance from the others, as he used magic circles towards Issei, who responded by using his semblance, as Issei asked. Even now, you think that you will win against the Satans, haven't you done enough damage already? Issei asked angrily, to which Shalba cackled madly and responded. Oh no. 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 Red Dragon, that is no longer my intention. Shalba then spoke with madness as he continued, a curse. This is a curse. I shall become the poison who will devour the underworld. Those devils who declined me. I have no business with such an underworld. I don't care about them anymore. I don't care about the authority and possession of the underworld anymore. Phew. This Shalba Beelzebub shall use his last bit of power to destroy the underworld together with the monsters. Shalba brought out a person that was familiar with Issei as he saw a short dark-skinned young boy with grey-blue hair and purple eyes. Like other members of the hero faction, he wears a gakurin with a long coat on top of it. Leonardo? You brought him. Shalba grinned madly as he spoke. Yes. And now, Leonardo, use Balance Breaker. Shalba used a mind-controlling spell on Leonardo, as he cried in pain. Suddenly magic waves were being surrounded as several beings were being summoned to the ground. They were Bandersnatch and Jabberwocky. This creates 12 anti-monsters measured to be 150 meters tall, named the Bandersnatch, also known as Great Demonic Beast, which can create smaller copies of itself, and one anti-monster measured to be 200 meters named the Jabberwocky, also known as Super Demonic Beast. The Jabberwocky was teleported to the other side of the underworld, while the Bandersnatch was present with them. The Bandersnatch immediately started to attack the leaders, as the 4 Satans and the remaining leaders joined to fight against the armies. Surziches stayed back to protect Jade, along with Grafia, dealing with anyone that came close to them. Issei was facing off against Shalba. If there is any chance he can rescue Leonardo from his control, he could hopefully end the battle. The problem is, Shalba was not an easy foe. Shalba used all sorts of magic circles to deflect against Issei, as he shouted. Take my judgment, you accursed dragon. Shalba unleashed a magic circle generating a horde of bees, as he commanded the bees towards Issei, as Drake spoke mentally. That's Beelzebub's signature ability, King of Flies. With that he can command flies to attack his opponents, mostly insects that is. Issei nodded as he retorted, shame, cause bugs are weaker to fire types. Issei used his semblance, transforming into his dragonoid forms as he started to breathe flames onto the flies, burning them to a crisp. Additionally, it started to even affect Shalba, who used his magic circle to defend himself, gritting his teeth in anger, on being on the verge of defeated a second time. Using the opportunity, Issei quickly brought out his shotgun and teleported to Shalba's location, as he turned around, but before he could react. Bam! Issei shot Shalba with a shotgun, blowing up half of his left arm, making him grit his teeth in pain. He kept his distance. He responded by using a burst of elemental magic comprising of fire, water, wind, lightning, rock, earth and dark magic as he fired at Issei, who only dodged the attacks, as he made sure to not let any of his allies hit. For someone that is prideful, you have an amazing pain tolerance, fighting with only an arm. Issei spoke with a bit of a praise, as Shalba shouted in response. Shut up. You don't know a thing about me. I will destroy everything you cherish. Including the children of the underworld. Shalba shouted madly, his pride of losing against Issei was being shown, making the latter even more desperate. Issei and many others were furious at this declaration. He wanted to take him down at all costs, since he was going to even harm his lived ones. Shalba, on the other hand, became desperate, and having no choice, he brought a vial as Issei became on the edge. It was a vial that contained black liquid, as the latter recognized it to be Samuel's poison, as he spoke. "So you do recognize the thing that will kill you," Shalba spoke with a mad grin, as he immediately teleported to Issei's location, forcing him to go on the defensive, as he brought out the syringe and connected the vial to it. The reason he did not throw it was because Issei would just easily dodge it. Some quickly ended their fights and tried to assist Issei, but he was too far away from them. Euclid made sure to prevent anyone from interrupting by blocking his peerage and others with a very strong barrier. Shalba had an insane grin on his face, he was ready to kill him, but when he was too close, a reddish-black blur sent the mad devil flying. He was hurled flying towards a distance, as the figure spoke. "Why don't you two pick on someone your own size?" The entity had black outer armor, with red glowing eyes, and red gems. The wings were red closed pistol-like sealed wings, and had additionally black lines connecting his back. The entity turned towards Shalba as he unleashed two cannons from his back. He crushed the vial, making Shalba and Euclid horrified. A second Red Dragon Emperor was not something they expected, however Euclid noticed something off about this version of Red Dragon Emperor. Drake and Bell themselves were surprised, as they noted that his signature belonged to the Red Dragon Emperor. They wondered on exactly who this person was. Even the factions were surprised by this, along with Issei's peerage and others that were fighting against Khaos Brigade. Michael and Raphael noted that this one looked familiar, as Issei looked at him, and noted that the entity's armor looked like Issei's scale mail, but way different. Soon enough, the barrier dropped as Euclid decided to escape. The second Red Dragon Emperor has thrown a wrench in his plans. The aura felt familiar to him, as he decided to report this to Rizevim. Once he was out of there along with Leonardo, Issei's peerage headed to his location in worry, as Summer asked. "Are you okay?" Issei nodded as he asked. "Yeah." Issei watched in surprise as he looked at the other Red Dragon Emperor. The others also soon followed as John asked. "Why is there another Red Dragon Emperor?" Issei shook his head as he spoke. "I have no clue. Not to mention, he sounds just like me." Ruby and the others were surprised as Yang spoke. "You gotta be kidding me, he could be a clone, like Faker was." The mere mention of his name got the others nervous, as Issei shook his head and spoke. "No, if he was, that clone of mine made by the sorcerers would have joined the Khaos Brigade instead of saving me from Shalba. I just hope he is on our side." Ingvold saw as that entity started to generate a reddish-black beams from his cannons. As Shalba watched in fear, he tried to escape, but he spoke. "Oh no you don't." A magic circle showing the number 666 shows up, as the leaders had a feeling who this person was, with Surziches asking with worry. "Don't tell me, that's Trahixa." Azazel shook his head and spoke. "Not exactly, not only does it look like Issei's scale mail, but it has something else merged with it, so whoever this person is, not only has the power of the Red Dragon Emperor, but also it has Trahixa's power." Jade mused in agreement. "I agree, it does like a variation of Issei's balance breaker, but who exactly is underneath the armor?" Grafia then muttered. "Let's hope he is friendly." The other entity had trapped Shalba in a tentacle courtesy of its ability, which belonged to the Beast of Apocalypse, Trahixa. It started to siphon Shalba's magic, preventing his escape. "Now Began." The entity unleashed an energy beam that completely engulfed Shalba, as he screamed with anger. "Curse you Haidu. Curse you all." Shalba was completely disintegrated, leaving no trace of him left, as the entity retracted his cannons, as he walked towards Issei and his peerage, and spoke. "Are you alright, kid?" Issei nodded, albeit he seemed a bit concerned on who this person was, as he looked at the others, and was surprised to see some of them, as he spoke. "John? What are you doing here?" John was surprised as he responded with a tone full of surprise. "You know me?" Even the others were surprised that this person not only knew about John, but also was the Red Dragon Emperor. Just who exactly this person was, the entity nodded as he spoke. "Yes, and this place, this is Underworld, but different, am I really in the Underworld?" Ingvold nodded as she spoke. "Yes, but who even are you, to be exact?" The entity was about to respond, till the others decided to show up, as Surziches asked normally. "Who are you? Are you the Red Dragon Emperor?" The entity nodded as he spoke. "Indeed I am." The entity soon dropped his armor, revealing to be none other than an older version of Issei, which made everyone jaw drop. Even Issei himself was completely stunned by this revelation. He wore a red t-shirt and a red jacket with two side pockets. He wore a black jeans and two black shoes. You are just like me." Issei spoke while pointing towards Issei, who responded with an understanding yet confused tone. "I could say the same too." Issei pointed to Issei as everyone else was confused. How can there be two Isseis in the same room? Alright. What is even going on here? Am I seeing things or are there two Isseis here? Azazel asked, completely confused as Surziches spoke with a frustrated tone. "We all see them, even we are confused, just exactly how did this happen?" And how is there another Red Dragon Emperor Issei here? Both Isseis looked even more confused as Drake spoke from Issei's boosted gear. And this is the real Issei, along with him being the Red Dragon Emperor. Drake spoke as Issei's boosted gear also spoke. I could say the same for you as well. Drake also responded, as everyone was convinced this was an Issei, but who exactly was he, as Ajuka was watching the situation as he spoke. I can only come up with one explanation. Everyone turned towards Ajuka as he continued, the Issei next to his peerages are Issei, while the other opposite to him is from a different universe. Everyone became wide-eyed at Ajuka's explanation as Jade added, I guess this is what happened when the collider exploded. So this Issei is an alternate of the Issei we know, so what now? We first see about the other situation that is happening in a different location of the underworld. Yusaka suggested as they all decided to head there as soon as possible. Even the new Issei also joined in. Scene change. The Gare's territory, 20 minutes ago. The Devils, Gabriel, Metatron, Auden and the others were facing off against their enemies, with the Jabberwocky posing the biggest threat. It was rampaging across the entire area of the Agare's territory. Lord Agares was assisting in evacuating the citizens while Sakvara along with her peerage consisting of Olivian and Bafil Furkas, as they all were fighting against the Jabberwocky, but to no avail, its regenerative properties were being a problem. Even with assistance from Metatron, Bale Peerage and Gabriel, they were still struggling to beat the Jabberwocky, while Auden, Valerie and Seraphol were dealing with the Grim Reapers, along with the rogue supernatural beings, with Valerie handling against Pluto in her Imperio Juggernaut drive. She used Compression Divide to defeat him and take him out. However, they weren't able to help against the Jabberwocky for the time being. The Jabberwocky was being even more problematic. It suddenly released a storm of fireballs at the others as they dodged it. It soon followed it up with a ray of light towards Sakvara and her peerage as Sayurg tried to save her, but couldn't. She couldn't dodge and there was no escape. She created a magic circle to try and protect herself. However, someone sent a powerful magic blast at the Jabberwocky, distracting it for a while as someone came in front of her. Who are you? Sakvara looked at the entity in front of her, as it had glowing orange eyes meant for sight, and a covering that covered his entire face. His helmet was a mixture of brown and white, while the rest of his body was the same color, except instead of being white, it was red clothing meant for a bit of comfort. You okay, Sakvara? Sakvara nodded as the entity looked at the Jabberwocky as he coldly spoke. Is that the best you can come up with, Rizevim? Pathetic as always. The entity jumped up in the air, as he knew exactly on how to deal with the Jabberwocky. He followed it up with 2 dragon shots using the boosted gear in his hand, shocking everyone that witnessed this. It was a Red Dragon Emperor, but how can this be? How is this possible? Meanwhile, the entity looked at the Bale Peerage, Agare's Peerage, Metatron and Gabriel as he spoke coldly. I won't repeat it twice, move back unless you want to get killed. The cold voice of the entity made them shudder. As they backed away, he soon started to generate flames as he burned down the Jabberwocky. Those that were in the Great War recognized those flames. Those were Drake's flames. As he breathed onto the Jabberwocky, the flames were burning down the Jabberwocky, making it scream in pain. It tried to regenerate, however Drake's flames will keep burning until there was nothing left, not even their soul remained. It soon was destroyed into nothingness. The entity was surprised by how the underworld was, as he looked around surprised to see it intact, like nothing had ever happened to this place. I need answers, what is going on here? And this is the underworld, right? Sakvara walked forward and spoke. Yes it is. Sakvara fixed herself and spoke with a tone of composure, but who even are you? Before the entity spoke, Auden and the others appeared before the entity once they were done with the supernatural beings belonging to the Khaos Brigade, as Auden asked calmly and gently. You not only have the boosted gear, but also have flames that were sealed by the biblical god. How were you able to use both of them? You're Issei Haidu, right, the pillar of the factions. The entity became wide-eyed. How can he be the pillar of the factions, and how the hell are some of the people around are still alive? Does this mean Dai is not the pillar, or was not the pillar? The entity asked with confusion as Auden responded with confusion. No, Issei is the pillar, and who even is this Dai you are talking about? Auden spoke analyzing the person with the entity being confused. He was not expecting the perverted hypocrite to act like this. No, he is my brother. But are you sure Dai does not exist in the Haidu family? Auden shook his head as he spoke. No, Issei has no brother, unless you consider John, his brother figure. The entity nodded as he asked. How can this be? The entity spoke with response, as Gabriel and Metatron analyzed him, with Gabriel trying to analyze his heart, but the entity speaks. I would advise you to not read my heart, Gabriel. The entity removed his helmet, as everyone became surprised. It was Issei Haidu that helped them, but he seemed different, as he had more brown hair. But before anyone could speak, a magic circle belonging to Lucifer opened up as they all turned around to see Surziches and his allies, along with another Issei lookalike, an older version. What is going on? How are the people that are supposed to be dead, alive? And how can there be two versions of myself opposite to me, and who are even these people? The Issei in the armor looked in complete confusion as his drag spoke with a calming tone. Partner, calm down, we will get our answers soon enough, we need to play carefully, since both Isseis in front of us are also Red Dragon Emperors. The armored Issei took a deep breath to calm himself down. The others walked towards the group that was dealing with the Jabberwocky. He looked at Ajuka who spoke looking at this Issei as he understood that he was brought to their world by the Super Collider. From what I presume, you must be a different Issei, right? From a different universe. The armored Issei now understood everything. Someone managed to bring him here, from his universe to this universe, everything now made sense to him. Surziches and several others that were dead in his universe are alive here, and his counterpart was the pillar of the universe, as the older Issei spoke looking at the situation. I take it even you were summoned, from your own universe, right? The armored Issei nodded in response as he spoke. Yep, I was brought too. Sikvara was surprised along with her peerage, different universes and a different reality. This was a lot for her to process, she was unable to understand what is going on, as Surziches looked at her and responded, he and many others that weren't aware of the Super Collider's existence don't know what had happened. Sikvara, we will explain everything to you, you need not worry. Sikvara and her peerage nodded in understanding as he looked at the others, and spoke. Our best course of action is to head to a secure location and discuss what is next, Sikvara, you don't mind if we come to your place? Sikvara shook her head and responded. No, I don't. Surziches nodded as he suggested to head inside the Ager's mansion. Unbeknownst to them, someone aside from Rizevim was watching them. Scene change. Hades' realm, 11:30 p.m. Hades was present amongst the other gods, these were comprised of Nyx, Tartarus and Erebus, as they were all called by him, since Jade's actions were informed to them by Rizevim, this was unacceptable. They did not know what lied on the other side of different worlds, and that could be a problem to their way of living. Additionally, he had borrowed them Samel, since this would eliminate the threat known as Issei Haidu. However, they had failed, but now with what they have witnessed, with two other Isseis known to be much more powerful, this would even be more problematic to them. I believe you know what you are called here for. Hades' words made Nyx nod as she spoke. After from what we saw, these alternate versions of the Red Dragon Emperor are even more problematic than the Longinus wielders, and that aura, it seems familiar, doesn't it? Nyx spoke, to which Hades responded. Indeed, the aura belonging to the Red Jacket Issei was of Trahix's, this meant that the Issei of that universe managed to even get the Beast of Apocalypse to his side, he is a threat that needs to be dealt with. Tartarus then suggested. We can ambush them head on, or eliminate them right away. Hades shook his head and responded. No, we can't do it. Hades' words made the other gods startled as Erebus responded. Why not? We are primordials, we can handle them without a problem. Hades shook his head again as he continued, no, didn't you hear what I said, they are much stronger than our power, one can use Drake's flames, and the other has access to Trahix's power, we need to deal with them the other way. Erebus then spoke annoyed. So what would you suggest? Hades spoke with a sigh. We lay low, with the factions having a confrontation with the Grim Reapers and Samel, we will play it safe for now. And sooner or later, I can expect the factions to show up to my doorstep, once that is over, we can use Samel's blood to take the Isseis down. Erebus spoke with a smile, as he responded. I don't mind this idea. Tartarus and Nyx agreed to this as Hades spoke. Well, in that case, we should adjourn the meeting, I will contact Rizevim and see what else we can do as well. The other gods nodded in understanding as they all teleported away from the location, leaving Hades alone, he knew what was coming next, and he had to be prepared. He knew Rizevim would still be in secret releasing Trahixa or capturing Jade for his goals, he was on a list, and he wondered if Rizevim was too since the recording showed one of the Isseis knew about Rizevim. Speaking of Rizevim. Scene change. Rizevim's base, 12 a.m. Rizevim grinned hearing the aftermath of the event that had happened, these two Isseis with one of them having the Beast of the Apocalypse's power for himself, and the other being able to use Drake's flames, he knew what he had to do. Even if he failed to get access to the Collider or its information, he still managed to know what it can do and what it is capable of, that was satisfactory enough. Even if the opportunity failed itself for the first time. He will find a way to capture these Isseis and know more about their worlds, and if that doesn't work, he will kill him. Little does he know that this will be his downfall, since the Isseis have already had a run-in with their Rizevims. That's it guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.